Now that moment was much more significant than you think. The last Apple device that I owned was the first generation iPod Touch way back in 2007. And I loved it. I used the hell out of it until it got completely replaced by the smartphone. And now, after 12 years, I've finally decided to try out Apple's ecosystem. Now, what brought this on was the chance to dip my toes back into Apple land by having an opportunity to loan out the iPhone 13 for about 2 weeks. And I mainly did it because I wanted to see what all the hype was about, why iPhones are so popular, and maybe, just maybe, if the iPhone is an option when I need to replace my current phone, which is pretty soon. So let me take you through my thoughts as an Android user testing his first ever iPhone. Now, keep in mind that I did this with a completely open mind, and I've always respected the iPhones as great pieces of hardware, but I've always just preferred Android, so I've always gone that way. Okay, first of all, I've held iPhones before, but the 13 Pro just feels like a premium chunk of technology. It looks clean, it looks good, and the size is nearly perfect. I say nearly because I've recently got my hands on, I've tried out the Zenfone 9 a little bit, and I really think that is the perfect size for me. I've never liked big phones, so that's why the Zenfone 9 I feel like it's just a bit smaller than this, and I think that's perfect for me. But the 13 Pro comes very close. But with the physical out of the way, let's talk about my first experience, which was the onboarding. And this is quite a ride. Okay, so for some reason, me in my own stupidity thought that it would be as simple as switching my SIM card over from my Android phone to my iPhone and going through the onboarding experience and just starting to use the phone. Well, silly me, I guess. My first issue was after I was done with the onboarding and went to download some of the apps. Well, this happened. Hey guys, I just ran into my first real issue with the iPhone, and I'm trying to install apps and I just can't. I'm trying to do it, it's not letting me. When I go into the settings, it's telling me to verify my Apple ID, which I already did. And now when I try to continue, it tells me to create a first name. What first name? Why do I need to create one? I already gave it to you. What is going on? Now, after about an hour, it finally recognized the verification, and I could now go and download apps. Except it required my password for every single one, even the free ones. And even though I had my Face ID set, I couldn't utilize that. And since there's no fingerprint scanner on the 13 Pro, couldn't use that either. So I had to input a very complex password for every single download. So I downloaded just a couple of the most important ones before I would look into this. And one of those was WhatsApp. I could already hear some of you understanding what's about to go down, because I haven't had any experience with iOS. I didn't know you couldn't import your WhatsApp history from Android to iPhone. So that was annoying. But then I found out that you can. See, Apple has made an app for Android called Move to iOS. Now what that app allows you to do is supposedly bring your data and your app information and your WhatsApp history, for example, from Android to iOS. So I downloaded that, and well, it wasn't quite that smooth. First of all, using the app requires you to be in the onboarding process of your iPhone. How do you get to the onboarding process? Well, reset the iPhone. Okay, so here we go. This is the first time I've now reset my iPhone. Then we get to the move to iOS part. We start transferring data and it's going okay, except that, well, the app estimated 15 minutes and 14 minutes later it said 1 more minute, and then it sat in that for 27 minutes. And once that was done, I was ready to experience the iOS in all its glory with my data from Android, except that what it actually does is that the apps that you had on your Android, some of them, not all of them, change into this get but not installed situation, like status, in the App Store. So it's essentially pointless. You still need to download all of them. Okay, but did I at least have my WhatsApp history? No. I did, but when I tried to restore that backed up history, well, what I got was, it got to 40% and then it just said that there's an error, and the only thing I could do was to skip the restoration, losing the only possibility of restoring those chat histories. Now, the guide on WhatsApp's webpage does tell you to, you can try this again. Just do the move to iOS once again and just retry it. Well, like I said before, that would require resetting the iPhone once again. So at this point, I chose to just F it and skip the restoration. Screw it. The WhatsApp history is on the Android, and I'll just get my chats as they go because this is only a temporary thing. Well, once that adventure was done, I would finally be able to just get into iOS and start experiencing what is so popular in America. Now, the first thing that hit me quite hard was the customization. I know that the customization on iPhones has always been a thing of limitation, but I still didn't assume it would hit me this hard. See, I guess you could say that I'm a pretty minimalistic person where it comes to my phone and my phone screens. Basically, on my Android, I only have 4 essential apps and 1 folder that has a little less essential, but still quite essential apps. So like maybe 12 apps in that folder. And that's all that I have on my home screen. I don't have extra pages or anything. Now, doing that on this was incredibly hard. And especially consider this because I like symmetry. So this would be that classic, I want to place the apps where I want them. You could see where I'm going with this. I know that not everyone wants that. I know that that's not a requirement for everyone. But for me, I like that. And not having it just stung a little bit. But it was something that I could move past. There was a way to skip that, but I actually had to watch a video, and you have to have a specific black background or a black area so you can make that weird bar at the bottom disappear. But I digress. I knew that this was going to be a thing, so it's nothing that I wasn't expecting. But from that description, as you might assume, I utilize the app drawer on my Android a lot. So the view with all the apps. With iPhone, this is used with this app library thing. It has got to be the worst way I've ever seen to categorize all of your apps. If you disagree, I challenge you to tell me a single reason why it's not an optional thing. Why do you force it on everyone? And if you don't want it, you can not use it and just have the list view by default. Okay, I've been going at the software pretty hard. So let's talk about some of the good sides, the good things I've experienced. One of the things is something that's very hard to convey on a video, and you just have to experience it. which is the fact that the animations and the usability of the iPhone is very smooth when you know what you're doing. So it just feels very fluent. Of course, this is down to the iPhone 13 Pro having extremely good specs and the iOS being very optimized, but it's still something that deserves attention. It's very, very fluent. I'm not saying that the good Android phones aren't, I'm just saying that the iPhone 13 is. Now, in terms of usability, exactly. Now, when you drag down from the right corner, the upper right corner, you get to Control Center, which is very fluent. It works very well, but I was just surprised at how lacking the functionality is. I know you can adjust it and change the things that you can see there to some extent, but one of the things I was really missing was the ability to access settings quickly. There was no way to put a settings widget in there. Of course, probably by some app you could do it, but just not having it natively felt weird because I'm really used to doing that on Android. But then dragging from the left reveals the notification center. And I'm confused about this. Why does everything require so many taps? So if you're an Android user and you're still watching, how you get to notifications is you drag down from the upper left corner. All your notifications are bundled up at the bottom. You need to click that to open all of the notifications app by app. And then if you have more than one notifications out of one app, you need to click that app's category again to open all of the notifications from that app. And now you can click on or tap on the notification that you wanted to tap on. That is so many taps. Or if you want to close all of the notifications that you have, what you need to do is you need to click app by app, a little X on the corner, and then press clear. Just pressing the X doesn't do that. Pressing the X gives you the option to click clear. It just feels like everything is an extra tap or two or three away. And when everything is a bit further away, it starts to accumulate, if you know what I mean. Now, all of this has led me to struggle with the common conception that iPhones are easy for anyone to pick up and use. How? There was no tutorial for me to learn how to do things. I assumed that when I drag down from the top, it does something, but there was nothing telling me that notifications appear from the left corner. Or if no one has ever used the swipe navigation before, there's nothing teaching you how that works, which is just weird. It's all trial and error, and especially with the iPhone's implementation of the swipe menu, it's inconsistent. With some apps, when you swipe from the left, only from the left by the way, you go back a page. But not with all of the apps. With some of the apps or some windows, you need to click on a specific spot so that it goes back. It confuses me. But then swapping over to the positives again, the camera system is fantastic. It is so easy to pick up the iPhone and just start taking photos, and you'll just know that most of them are gonna be amazing shots for phone photos. But there's a but again. So my problem with the camera system was that I was super happy with the results I was getting. But as a photographer, I wanted to tweak the settings at some points. And there's just very few ways that you can do that. You just can't adjust settings like white balance, or I'm not gonna go into the technical here, but there's a lot of features that you can't adjust, at least on the normal camera app. I'm sure there is an app for that, but on the normal camera app, you just can't do much. You can apply filters or other kinds of filters. You can take raw photos, but still, it's weird. Now, as you can see, my initial experience so far has been rough, to say the least. But I'm still keeping an open mind, and a lot of this can be down to just me not being used to the software. So that's why I'm going to be using this for a week and a half, and then I'll be able to say what my true experience was. This is just first impressions. But yeah, this has been an interesting experience, and I'm curious to see where it takes us. If you're an iPhone user, tell me what it is specifically that draws you to the iPhone. I'm really interested in this, and please don't turn it into an Android iPhone war. Don't compare the devices, okay? I'm not interested in the comparison. All right, that is all for this time. I will see you guys again next time. All right, bye.